Time now for Futures in Focus. Bitcoin's plunge has extended to more than 25% today. The frenzy surrounding digital currencies facing one of their biggest tests yet. Surrounding us in the wall here is Brian Battle, Director at Performance Trust Capital Partners. Brian, I take it you weren't exactly surprised by the Bitcoin plunge?
No, Vonnie, you know, what's interesting about Bitcoin is it routinely has a 30% sell-off. And in 11, we had a 93% sell-off. 13 was 70%, 14, 86, and 17, 30. And so we're having a 25 to 30% sell-off here today. So not that surprising, and not that surprising in an emerging asset class. This is brand new, so where it's going to be volatile.
What would you advise a retail investor? Because we know that more and more of them have been getting in. I mean, do they stay in at this point if they can?
That's a great question. So what about a definition? Is Bitcoin a currency? Is it a commodity? Is it beanie babies? It's hard to know at this point, but UBS is clear when I read it. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are the bubble to end all bubbles. So there's a divergence of opinion in the street. I would say that it's certainly a speculative asset class. I don't know if it has any definition right now, but if you can't take a 30% sell-off or a 40% sell-off, you shouldn't be speculating in this asset class.
Is this sell-off isolated solely to Bitcoin, and what are the reverberations in the futures market now for Bitcoin at CME?
Yeah, so the great thing about the CME and the CBOE across the street is that it's institutionalizing the asset class. We have real live futures and an ability for institutional investors to hedge. So I think the market will get more organized. We've never had a digital currency in the history of the world. So we're just all figuring it out. I think we'll determine what it is. I'm not sure that Bitcoin's a currency because it's not very good at transactional things. It's very slow and can be wonky to sell size. And it's not a very good store of value. As you can tell, it goes up and down by 30% a week. By the way, we're at the price today, Bitcoin giant sell-off, we're at the price where it was on December 6th. So it's in context, it's a huge sell-off, but in the history of Bitcoin, this is going to be a pretty regular thing until we get more and a bigger institutional market.
Let's turn to oil. What are you looking for out of, say, WTI for the first quarter of 2018?
Yeah, it's been a whippy market this year. You know, we were 44 to 58 is sort of the range. On average, we're 53. Going back to 2015, the average has been 52. So it's been a quiet market. I think that speaks to the overabundance of supply. The question is there going to be demand? Will the global economy pick up? The U.S. tax cuts might help. I think the thing to watch is what's going on in Saudi Arabia. They have a big change in leadership. They have a war in Yemen that isn't quite over yet, and we're going to see what the Saudis are doing. They just announced this week that maybe they're sniffing around in the U.S. Shale field. So I think Saudi Arabia, as a head of OPEC and as one of the major cheap, low price producers, I'm really interested to see what happens there with leadership. Mohammed bin Salman is really exerting himself. That's really going to set the supply tone for the rest of 18.